Good morning. I'd like to call to order the Common Council meeting. Today is Tuesday, December 12th, and the time is 7 p.m. I'll ask the city clerk to do the roll.
Mayor Kim Smith,
Here.
Sean McAllister,
Here.
Dan Stevens,
Here.
Stephen Knott,
Present.
Leanne Stokes. Here. Larry Jurassic,
Present.
Diane Wolf.
Here. Thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you. Item 3, the rules of the City of Onalaska Common Council and its subcommittees. This is a harassment-free forum. The City Council and subcommittee meetings shall be conducted in a courteous manner. Citizens, council, and committee members shall be allowed to state their positions in an atmosphere free of slander, obscene remarks, or threats of violence. Sufficient warnings may be given by the sergeant at arms or the chair at any time during the remarks. And in the event that any individual shall violate the rules of decorum as set forth, such person may then be cut off from comment or debate. Item 4 is public input. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the Common Council. Please begin by stating your name and your address and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Would anyone from the public like to address the Common Council this evening? Welcome.
Evening. My name is Kathleen Lohendorf. You said my address is 311 3rd Avenue South in Onalaska. I'm here to ask the council to consider updating the City of Onalaska's ordinance regarding the sale and possession of paraphernalia to align with the state statutes. The current city ordinance regarding possession, manufacture, and delivery of drug paraphernalia currently only references a portion of the state statute and fails to recognize subsection B, which excludes from the ordinance any items including pipes, papers, and accessories that are designed for use or primarily intended for use with tobacco products. The city ordinance goes on to state that what is or is not considered drug paraphernalia can be determined in several ways, including but not limited to instructions shared regarding its use, descriptive materials accompanying the product, and or the manner in which the product is displayed, i.e. the marketing of said product. Another concern regarding the current ordinance surrounds the consumption and use of hemp as defined under Wisconsin statutes, chapter 94, section 55, as the products associated with hemp often fall within the scope of what's classified as drug paraphernalia in our city's ordinance. Prohibiting the sale of these products restricts opportunities for both hemp users and retailers in our city, as they're often needed to be able to consume and use hemp products. Updating our ordinance holds the key to unlocking new prospects for the hemp community within our city. It not only aligns us to our state regulations, but also presents an opportunity for economic growth. By allowing the sale of items associated with hemp, we pave a way for increased revenue in both the county and the state. This potential for growth shouldn't be overlooked. It's a chance to foster a thriving community right here in our community. Furthermore, aligning our ordinance with the state statutes signifies a move toward progressive and informed policymaking. It demonstrates our commitment to staying current with evolving laws, fostering a climate that supports lawful and responsible commerce. I implore this council to consider the implications of maintaining an outdated ordinance. By embracing this update, we position ourselves for growth, support our local businesses, and ensure that our laws reflect the current reality of what hemp use is within our state. Thank you for your time and consideration. Let's work together towards a future that embraces progress, opportunity, and inclusivity within the City of Onalaska.
Well, thank you very much. Would anyone else like to address the Common Council this evening? Please step forward, state your name and your address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Yes, hi, my name is Brian Schultz. I live at 1232 Rosewood Trail. I'm here today to talk about the guidelines for filling out a parking citation appeal and how they are illegal and unconstitutional. Just having the list alone of things that are not valid reasons to appeal is unconstitutional. Everybody in this country has the right to appeal and contest any citation. It is God-given to us. To take it from us is completely and utterly against what this country stands for. I was told that this is not to tell people that they can't, because everybody should know their civics. Well, to understand the common people, not everybody understands civics. So to tell me that you have to understand civics to be able to contest your ticket is utterly and completely ridiculous. Along with this, there is also language on the paying of the citation website that says that it cannot be contested, that the citation paying cannot be contested and cannot be refunded in any way, shape, or form. What happens if there is a double charge while you're paying it? You just take our money? If it can't be refunded and it can't be contested, do you just take our money? Last I checked, that was theft. So taking away our right to appeal something or to check the citation and contest it is ridiculous. Not to mention the fact that I was told by both the city attorney and my alderman that part of the reason why we have the alternate side parking is because of cleaning the streets. That's ridiculous. I've lived here my entire life. I'm 45 years old. I've lived in La Crosse, Alaska my entire life. I was born here. I have never seen a street sweeper in January or February. And if alternate side parking is required for cleaning the streets, then how come it's just from December 1st to March 15th? That makes no sense. That argument falls by the wayside. It's ridiculous. Otherwise, alternate side parking would be all year round. The other thing I was told is that it would be too hard to determine and too many people would fight the citation if, like every other municipality we have.
3 minutes, Your Honor.
Go
I
ahead.
finish?
You can finish
Okay.
you finish your
Every other
thought.
municipality around us says a measurable amount of snow or 1 inch. I was told that it would be too difficult to do this because too many people would fight the citations. Again, I go back to my opening. By doing this, by stating this, you are saying that you are trying to dissuade people from utilizing and exercising their rights, which is not only unconstitutional, but illegal. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for coming in. Would anyone else like to address the Common Council this evening? Second call, if anyone would like to address the Common Council. Third and final call, if anyone would like to address the Common Council this evening. Okay, public input is now closed and we'll continue with item 5, report from the mayor. I will turn it over to Chief Ashbeck. Or I can just do it myself. I just wanted to, item A is recognition of Sergeant Jason Job for 25 years of service. Sergeant Job is celebrating his retirement this month. So thank you, Jason, and congratulations. Item B is appointment of election officials for 2024 to 2025. Enclosed in your packet is a list of the elected officials for the year of 2024 to 2025. I'll entertain a motion from the council to approve this list of election workers.
I make a motion to approve appointment of the election officials for 2024-25 per the agenda.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor by Leanne Stokes. It's been seconded by Stephen Knott to approve the elected officials appointment as presented in our packet tonight. Is there any discussion on this item? Okay, thank you. All those in favor of approving this item, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no.
Abstain.
Thank you. This item has been approved with 5 yes and 1 abstention. The next item on the agenda is recommendation for approval and or possible action from the following committees, commissions, boards, and officials. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member requests removal, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in the order of business in a non-consent agenda. I'll turn it over to the council if there's any items that you would like removed from the consent agenda. Otherwise, I'll have a motion to approve. Alder Wolf.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to pull both items under Parks, Recreation, and Library Board, items items L and M.
Thank you. Are there any other items?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the consent agenda with items L and M removed. The motion has been made by Alder Dan Stevens. It's been seconded by Alder Larry Jurassic. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to the non-consent agenda under item 7. We have a recap of the items pulled from the consent agenda. These are items L and M. Let's just go ahead and cover those now. Larry Jurassic, I'm going to take over for those.
Approval. I'm sorry, Mayor, my voice is.
Park and Rec Board, items L and M.
Yep.
If you would just read the item and then say what the recommendation from the Park Board was, and then we can get a motion on the floor and go ahead and discuss it.
Mayor, I think I've lost my voice, so.
Okay, I can go ahead and do it. Yeah, no problem at all. I know I sometimes have that feeling myself. Okay, under Park, Rec, and Library Board, item L is approval of the installation of the contactless smart lockers at the Onalaska Library. This item was approved at the Park and Recreation Board and is before you on this agenda tonight. Alder Wolf.
Thank you, Your Honor. I pulled this mainly because it was unanimously, I believe, approved at Parks, Recreation, and Library Board. There was a little bit of a discussion, kind of a side discussion regarding due to the substantial donation of the Friends of the Library, they would like to be able to add their logo at some time and at their cost. It was part of the discussion. It was not part of the motion, and I just thought it would be good to go ahead and have that all wrapped up so there wasn't any vagueness at a later time. So I would like to make a motion to approve the installation of contactless smart lockers at the Onalaska Library. And in light of the substantial donation, Friends of the Library will also be able to allow their logo at their cost if they so desire.
I second it.
Thank you. We have an motion on the floor by Alder Diane Wolf. It's been seconded by Alder Leanne Stokes. Is there any discussion? Not seeing or hearing any, the motion is to approve these lockers and the ability of the Friends of the Library to add their logo at their cost. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed, please say no. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Item M is approval of the request from the Onalaska Art Keepers to add 2 additional rocking sunfish at the Great River Landing. This item was approved at the board level, and it's before you on the agenda this evening. Alder Wolf.
Thank you again, Your Honor. I also wanted to pull this to talk a little bit more about I'll go ahead and get a motion on the floor. I move to accept the generous donation from Oak for 2 proposed fish with one single condition, and that would be that they always remain a school of 3 and will follow the placement of bobber.
I second the motion.
Diane, could you repeat the last part of your motion?
Sure. I move to accept the generous donation from Oak for 2 proposed fish with the only condition that they remain a school of 3 and they will follow the placement of bobber. I chose to make a positive motion versus what could possibly be perceived as possibly a negative motion is what I could have done. If anyone needs this to read between the lines more, I will certainly entertain that if I am asked.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Alder Wolf. Has it been seconded?
I second.
Okay, Leanne Stokes is seconding it. Under discussion, Alder Not.
Well, similar question to when we acquired the first rock and sunfish. What are the plans here for storage and maintenance? And is there additional cost that's going to be long-term associated with taking this free gift?
Welcome to the podium, Park and Rec Director Dan Wick.
Thank you, Your Honor. The current sunfish is placed on it to Gerald in the shower. The 2 other ones that'll be coming will be smaller. So we anticipate putting them in the other shower area once they're shut down for the winter. They're right on site. We don't have to haul them anywhere. Our staff can move it. Any maintenance that's done with them, we'll be working with Oak to do that. Touch up on painting and things of that nature. So that's something that's not going to take our staff time to be doing that stuff.
Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion on this item? Alder Stevens?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm curious, I'm aware that Oak has no plans of additional sunfish other than the 2, but what merit would there be to restricting the quantity? If the public were to come out and say that they really enjoyed more sunfish, why would we say by rule of council that should not happen? We could look at that individually as the case popped up. And I would point out that there was contention over the placement of the first sunfish. And I believe after it was placed, it was widely very well received by the public. There was a Name the Sunfish contest that the city ran, and I believe there was over close to 1,000 entries. It was very popular. Often when you go down the street, you'd see people, more than one, and sometimes waiting in line to ride the rocking sunfish. It was endorsed by county tourism, it was endorsed by local businesses, and it was endorsed by the public. I'm not saying that there needs to be more than 3. I'm just saying I see it makes no sense to limit future rocking sunfish. Again, there's no plan for more rocking sunfish, but it seems like there's certain people on this council that always have to make some sort of contention for local groups that are trying to do good in the community, and they got to put their stamp on it, and it has to go through. And if it doesn't get blessed by the appropriate people, then it can't happen. It makes no sense to put a limit on it. Why don't we just take this on the motion that it is?
Thank you. Let me ask Amanda Jackson a question. Even if the council were to approve this motion with the wording that is current, I believe it would only just take a future motion to, if perhaps in the future, somebody wanted to add 10 more fish and everyone was supportive, it would just take a motion to change that, correct? This isn't a binding.
Correct.
It just gives them the permission to go ahead with 2 at this point, right? Okay,
Correct.
just clarifying
So
that.
point of order, wouldn't that make that dilatory to put cap the limit at 3?
I think I can clear this up really quickly if you call on me,
I'm gonna let Amanda, I think Amanda wants to speak.
because it was, it was taken out of context. Well, you're fine.
The current motion is to accept the donation from Oak for 2 additional sunfish as long as they remain no more than a school of 3. Along with bobber. And so I think that the implication there is that you could not place additional sunfish with these 3. I think if you wanted to amend it to accept the donation from Oak for 2 additional sunfish to be placed with bobber, that would be a very friendly amendment that could be made and a little bit less restrictive.
Okay, thank you for that input, Amanda Jackson. Alder Diane Wolf.
Thank you, Your Honor. So first of all, I apologize that my reference of School of Fish, it was my fault that I used the incorrect verbiage, and it was that was not meant to be my representation. I was looking at the memo that we received on Thursday, November 9th, referencing we'd like to have 2 more built with a rocking platform, with 1 being a medium size, smaller than bobber, and 1 small, a school of fish. I was using that verbiage that they would remain like, that they would be together. That was my reference. I was in no way trying to rehash the past or, quite frankly, piss anyone off. Excuse my verbiage, but that was not my intent. Obviously, it was taken that way. And so my apologies. My point was, I obviously thought my sincere attempt to have more of a positive motion versus what I could have come in and said, motion to accept, like we did previously, as long as the placement was not at Dash Park, and give it to Parks. I didn't want to do that this time. But no good deed ever goes unpunished, sometimes on this common council, as I have found. So I'm more than happy to go ahead and amend my motion. In fact, I would like to remove my motion if the seconder would like to take their second away.
I will take my second away.
So I would like to, and Amanda, and if you would help if I misspeak, because that has not been my intention in the Christmas spirit of this evening. I would like to move to accept, again, the generous donation from Oak for 2 proposed fish, with the only condition that they follow the placement of bobber. That is my motion.
I will
Thank you.
second that.
A motion by Alder Wolf. It's been seconded by Alder Stokes. Is there any further discussion? Okay, the motion on the floor is to accept the donation and to place the fish together. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed, say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Now, item 8, Finance Committee, Leanne Stokes.
Thank you, Chair. The following is a list of monies expended since the last common council meeting dated November 14th, 2023, in the amount of $1,911,127.55. I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor to approve the vouchers. It's been made by Leanne Stokes and seconded by Sean McAllister. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving the vouchers, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed, say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Back to you.
Item number 8B, Cooley Region Humane Society contract. I'd like to turn it over to Amanda to introduce this item.
Yeah, so in front of you tonight is the Cooley Region Humane Society contract. Historically, this contract has been a 1-year contract. In speaking with Heather at the Humane Society, I had requested that they consider having this be a multi-year contract. There's not often a lot of substantial changes to it. And so quite frankly, it just made sense to not have to do this every year if we didn't have to. And so the Humane Society was open to that. If you go through the contract, the major changes include, we do have it as a 3-year contract. We did put what our monthly service fee and total annual fee would be in each of the years of the contract. They did ask for a 3% increase in each year, which helps them allow to pay their staff necessary COLAs and keep up with inflation on their end. We did also add a section at the request of the Humane Society to sort of address an issue that was not addressed previously, and that is what happens in the event of a court case where we would take custody of animals under Wisconsin statute chapter 951. So for instance, if you think of a case where there's property maintenance issues or other issues, neglect, criminal cases where there's neglect and abuse of the animals, and we go in and we seize the animals while that court case is ongoing, somebody has to care for those animals, pay for the expenses of those animals. And so what this says is that the Humane Society will do that for us. They will arrange for the care of the animals, and then they will bill the city. The city under statute is able to be reimbursed by the pet owner. But that would be on the city to make sure that we are getting that money either through a court case or other means from the homeowner. So we would make the Humane Society whole in those cases. And so they did set rates for those, $10 a day, $5 a day. We did limit veterinary expenses to $150 per animal. And then in the event that we encountered a situation where we expected those to be higher, we would work together to make a decision related to the care of the animal. So that's that whole red section, kind of in the middle, under section 9 that is new. Other than that, the rest of the contract remains the same.
Okay, thank you for that. Sabrina Seeger?
Thank you. I would just add that we did budget for the 3% increase for 2024.
Thank you. Or any other questions? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion. Oh, I'm sorry, Alder Stokes.
Item number 4, Amanda, the second sentence says, if not claimed by owner after 4 days, the animal will be considered property of the Humane Society. And then farther on down, 3 sentences from the bottom, it says, for all other animals, if within 7 days the owner doesn't claim it, the animal will be considered property. Can you explain to me what the 2 different days are? One's 4 days and one's 7 days? It's at the bottom of page 7.
Think, honestly, that probably could use some clarification. I have always read that to differentiate between dogs and cats and smaller animals, but that could be further clarified to point that out.
I think it's because in the beginning, it says animals that are impounded as strays. Whereas at the bottom for all other animals, I think that's probably like an animal that might have a dog, like a license in the city. That would be my guess, but that's how I read it.
I didn't understand it either. I was going to ask too.
Because what other kind would there be besides strays? That they would have, the impounded ones? But then that's a whole nother situation.
Those with an identifiable owner. So the owner would have 7 days to reclaim them. If there was not an owner, there would only be 4.
Yeah, that makes possible sense.
Yeah, that could be.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to read it on this weird split screen.
Okay, so is there a reason this has to pass today?
I mean, it goes into effect on 1/1. And so if we don't pass it today, we will not have a contract our contract expires on December 31st.
Could we pass it with an ask to have that wording clarified?
Yeah, I think we should just reach out to Heather and just see what her interpretation of that is. It may just, be what Sabrina said. I would also have to look at the statutes, which I can do after this meeting too, because often these follow the statutes as far as days for abandonment and days for ownership. So
Okay, what's the pleasure of the committee? Alder Wolf?
I have a follow-up, or I have a question regarding 9B. I saw the red line insert. So we haven't, City of Onalaska has not had to pay these charges before. My only concern is, are we setting ourselves up for a larger and unanticipated expense than maybe what we may think we may have? Because I don't know, like, the numbers of chickens and pocket pets and all that, you know, I don't know what that could amount to. So I don't have anything to go on. Like, is it going to be $1,000 or could it be $50,000 or?
yeah, so this would only happen if we were to have one of these cases, which I think, you know, in the history of my being a lawyer in La Crosse area, there's, to my knowledge, been one case in the county where this would have applied. These are not cases that happen often. I mean, for there to be like such severe issues where we're taking the animals against their will. And often in these situations, the owner is asked to surrender the animals immediately. And so many choose to do that when facing these situations. And so in those cases, we would not have a charge for anything. It would only be if we had to, for a court case or some similar reason, hold these animals. And quite frankly, if we don't have this language in there, the Humane Society could refuse to provide the service, and then the city would be on the hook for finding somebody to do it for us.
Okay, thank you.
We don't have a motion on the floor, to my knowledge.
I will make a motion to approve the Cooley Region Society contract, Cooley Region Humane Society contract.
Sorry. I second.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor by Alder Stevens. It's been seconded by Alder Stokes to approve the Cooley Region Humane Society contract as presented with the 3 years being understood. Alder Wolf?
Thank you, Your Honor. And I would assume that the motion, the second, is taken into account that staff will go ahead and follow up on that paragraph and try to iron it out and resolve that.
Is that your intention?
Without any further input from council.
No objection.
Thank you.
Okay, so everyone's clear, discussion's done. Okay, motion is to approve. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say no. Motion is approved unanimously. Item 9 is Board of Public Works. Stephen Knott.
Starting with item A, the approval of the 2024 capital improvements projects in your packet. You see a total capital improvements project list that totals $6,059,149. That includes $2 million that is from the community center project. You'll see the breakdown for short-term borrowing and the long-term borrowing as well. So I will go ahead and get this going for discussion by making a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor by Alder Knott. It's been seconded by Alder McAllister to approve the 2024 capital improvements project budget. Is there any discussion? Alder Knott.
Yes, so as it came forward by vote from the Board of Public Works, I do want to point out that this is approximately $250,000 over the target amount set by our finance director for total spending for this year. I do have a real concern that we may be overspending on this. I know one of the more contentious projects was item number 57, which is the solar power for the city hall. I had some questions on that that were answered since that meeting on how we got to a 13-year return on investment. And the reason we get to that is because of the $180,784 that is being provided by other sources, which is about 45% of the cost. When I take a look at the return on investment of 13 years, that ultimately comes out to a total 24-year return on investment. You include the $180,784 that is quote free money. So with my research on the lifespan of solar panels and what is reasonable for having to replace them, it's about 20 to 25 years. That's what I found online. 30 years would be an extreme. So we will undoubtedly, as a city, end up having a net positive on revenues on this during the first lifespan of this, based upon the $180,000+ that is being provided by other sources. But when those panels run out of their lifespan, unless there's a significant difference on cost and longevity due to technology change and cost change, the city is going to be on the hook for all of that when it comes time to replace it. And we will probably not be, unless there's a bit radical change on technology again and on cost, we are not going to see a return on investment in the next 20 to 30 years. In fact, it will be a net loss based upon having to replace them and not having a return on investment on it. So I still have a very serious concern on that. I guess I'd like to hear what other people have to say on whether or not I make a motion to strike that as an amendment. But those are my concerns on that.
Thank you for that. Any other comments or questions? Alder Stevens?
I don't feel real strongly one way or the other, but there's two things that kind of immediately come to head. And one is we've invested some resources in our emergency operations in the event that we lose power. I would think that having an alternative source of power should the primary provider fail to produce, that could only be advantageous. And the second is that I totally understand the metrics, but there would be cost savings that we would realize over the next 30 budgets. I'm not sure if that total number would be positive or negative. And, do we get more life out of the life expectancy of the panels, or does it not make it that far? There's risk involved, but there are some benefits that should not be discounted out of turn.
Thank you for that. Does anybody else have any comments or questions before we do a second round? Alder Jurassic?
Yeah,
Take a drink first if you need.
I look this as a mechanical device. It may not make 20 years, it may not make 10 years, but it's a mechanical device that'll, they're saying it's going to be 30 years. It may be 30 years, and we're looking forward to that. To put a budget on it because it may not make it. There's a lot of things that are on the budget. Every truck, every vehicle comes to the same point. So that's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. All right, back to, Leanne Stokes, go ahead.
Yes, I was just wondering if there's any staff member that would like to give their opinion of this.
Not all at once.
Everyone's,
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Okay, no, okay, Alder Stevens?
Wait a minute,
I'm-
Jared's going.
Oh, Jared's gonna talk. Okay, Jared?
So, Kevin Schubert, our city engineer, has been in contact with a company that has, we've been working with on running the numbers, looking at the cost analysis and going through those and showing, positive results. I do agree that the subsidy does make it even more attractive. Recently, Kevin Schubert, our city engineer, went and got an RFP from the county. The county just got done, is in the process of installing a variety of solar at a variety of sites within their campuses. So we have that, and we've done some research with that. From what we can tell, the solar panels would be warranted for 25 years to have the output that they state at a certain progression rate that they would go down a little bit each year. So we have put quite a bit of effort into this project, I think, trying to do our due diligence and research. And obviously we would go through the RFP process with this. And before we would request final common council approval, we would verify those numbers the last time and bring forward a project that we would ascertain to be beneficial to the city.
Thank you for that, Jared. Okay, Sabrina Steger?
Thank you. The only thing that I wanted to add is this is an item that we would have to short-term borrow for. So we would borrow for this over the next 5 years. Still a 13-year return on investment, but we would only be accruing interest for 5 years, but at a higher rate. So right now, likely we're looking at 6% for interest over those 5 years.
Thank you for that. Anybody else? All right, Stephen Knott.
Thanks, Sabrina. That was the one thing I was going to bring up, is I neglected to put that in my concerns, is that this is short-term borrowing. And it also has exceeded the recommended amount of short-term borrowing that we had initially recommended to us for this fiscal year too. So that is another concern. I was the only voice opposed to this. I know on the Public Works. It doesn't seem like I'm gonna get a second if I were to try to amend this, so I won't muddy the water anymore. Do want to mention, though, we do have an alternate source coming on board, and that's going to be the generator when that's all up and running, so.
Thank you for that discussion. Okay, so the motion on the floor is to approve the 2024 capital improvement budget. Is there any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. That budget is passed. Item B, approval. Yeah, let's just pause for a moment.
Item B is the approval of architectural design services, construction documents, and construction administration for community center project with the ISG Group in the amount of $560,187. If there's any questions, Jared, I'm sure can address those. Dan also may, because it'll fall under his purview, but that is an expenditure that we need to have a vote on, so. I'll make a motion to approve.
And I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Stephen Knott. It's been seconded by Sean McAllister to approve the architectural design services, et cetera, for the community center project, not to, in an amount of $560,187. Is there any discussion? Alder Stevens?
So is this amount for like everything? Cause I know that there was like, we're gonna do a gym, or are we not doing the gym, or would we add on later? So is this like, does this fee encompass the entire building or anything that would be added later?
I'll let Jared answer that question.
This proposed contract in front of you tonight, the amendment to the original agreement would be for the entire building, including a gymnasium. So it would have the community center with the attached gymnasium, including all design documents and bidding documents. And we could bid that out in pieces, chunks. We would go through and have all those plans with this. Also with that, it would offer assistance with construction administration split between ISG and city staff.
Okay, Alder Knott.
Further clarification too, yeah, so it's for the design. But Public Works, we had some similar line of questioning, Dan. And depending on the amount of grants we receive and the amount of money we've already committed to this, the design will allow them to either build it all or to build it without the gym, depending on the funds we get, with potentially adding the gym on at a later date. So the design is flexible. Is that not correct, Jared?
Yes, that is the proposed design, is to have a modular design where we could, depending on the bid, how we receive those bids, the bidding environment at that time. It would be my recommendation to move forward with the design and bid it out, because it's very difficult to estimate a project such as this until they get all of the various finishes done, the amount of particulars in that space. And it would be, we can make a decision on what to award once the bids come in.
Okay, Sabrina.
I would just add that this was part of the 2023 capital borrowing. So these costs are budgeted for.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? Okay, the motion on the floor is to approve this funding for the community center project. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say no. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Item 10, Long Range Planning Committee is item A, approval of the Live On It 2040 State of the City Report. This item was approved at the committee level yesterday. And I'll ask the council to weigh in on this.
I'll
For
move to
approval.
approve.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Stephen Knott. It's been seconded by Alder Diane Wolf to approve the State of the City Report. Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed, say no. That has been approved. Item 11, City Administrator Report. I will turn it over to our City Administrator, Rick Niemeyer. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. I put in front of everybody, I put my report. I typically wait until the day of the council meeting so I can keep it up to date as possible. So just a couple of things. I'll just go over it. I won't read it to you, but I'll just go over a couple of things. All of you should have received a meeting invitation via email for our strategic planning meetings that will be occurring starting in the new year. The council, after checking with each of you to see when your availability was, we will be doing meetings starting at 5:45 the night of council meetings. So we will be meeting in room 112. We'll meet for an hour. There'll be a short break before the council meeting starts. That will be starting in February. In January, the other two groups, which would be the department heads and then the employee group that was put together, will start those conversations, but those will occur after the council meeting that'll occur in January. So your first meeting will be in February. We'll get some reminders out to you as those times approach and if there's any materials for you to review. I think as you all know that we're updating our website. So just to give you an update on that, the migration of our current website information has made it over to the new site. We are not live yet. It's still in the review process. The next step is some quality assurance review processes, which will take about 3 weeks to do. And then before it goes live, the company that we're working with will give some training, editing training to staff so that we can make any changes to the website before it goes live. So that is still in process. And also, as you know, City Hall, we're updating the signage that we have within the City Hall. I've attached some of the examples. Keep in mind, those are just examples. Those aren't final when it comes to like the wording that is listed on them. But those are examples of what we'll be using or looking at using around. Once we get to some kind of a final, what we want them to look like, we'll set it up for RFP to determine who's actually going to make them and potentially install them for us as well. Again, you all know this December is the employee performance evaluations timeframe. Those are all occurring each department. All full-time and regular part-time employees are subject to review. And so that process is in process and going well. Then the last area is the community center. There was just obviously an agenda item that was discussed as well. Plans continue to develop for the community center. We are working with ISG to look at some of the interior finishes. Still working a little bit on the layout and design, but what do some of the interior finishes look like based on the uses that will be used, the facility will be used for? That's all important because we need to know what those are going to look like before we can get some kind of estimates regarding what the cost is going to be to bring to council. We're adding a couple of individuals to our work group. Larry Jurassic is going to be part of the group, and then we're going to be working with Dawn Jorsted. She's the nutrition supervisor at La Crosse County ADRC. She's going to help us with interacting with the seniors at our current site to get input from them as well. Our group has also been discussing a number of other things, such as how do we get the information out to the public, what kind of campaign that will look like, what kind of input do the seniors want to give on displaying pictures of the project at City Hall, at the current facility, and also at the Omni Center so that the public can see them as well too. These are all things that are in conversation right now so we can figure out where we're moving going forward. And then also working on a presentation that will be coming to council in the next January or February. They're being very comprehensive about it. So just determining how long it'll take to put all that information together to come to council, just to kind of give you an idea of what's going on and where things are at in more detail than what I'm just indicating tonight. It'll include what programmings we're planning expanding for the seniors and also for the youth as well. what things we are currently doing, what the facility can be used for. Again, just a kind of a comprehensive presentation. But in the meantime, you'll continue to get updates at least monthly at council meetings. We're also looking at getting you updates more frequently. Again, those are the conversations that are being had right now as to how that will look, and making sure that you are getting the information that you need. So thank you.
Thank you. Can continue.
The other piece I wanted to talk to about, we're looking for approval from the council in regards to closing City Hall and Omni Center and even Public Works to the public for short periods of time coming up in January. Let me just grab my notes here. So we have, as anybody who watches the news, you just know these days that there are things that can happen, the mass shootings and all those kinds of things. And I'm certainly not saying these things for alarm or anything for shock value, but you just see those things in the news. And so it was brought up that it was felt important that our staff be trained in regards to what it would be, what they should be doing, what would be the best course of action in the event of an active shooter in each of these facilities. The police department is organizing this with the assistance of fire, I believe, as well, in regards to a training for all of our staff. And so what we'd like to do is we would like to close down each facility for a short period of time on January 16th in order to conduct that training. We'd be looking at doing the Public Works facility at 7 a.m. on that day. And then the Omni Center starting at 9 a.m. that day. And then City Hall at 1 and basically for the rest of the afternoon. The reason for the longer period for City Hall is there's a few more employees here at City Hall, so we thought it might take a little longer. But all the other facilities, they would meet with the staff, go over what the plan would be, and then they would exercise that plan with some kind of interaction with staff. I'm sure that Chuck could, or the chief could explain that a little bit more detail. But that is the general plan. So what we're looking for is from the council is approval to close down each of the facilities for those periods of time so that we can conduct that training. Certainly any council members would be invited to attend if they so chose, mayor as well, obviously. Just if you do plan to, let us know so we can do the appropriate notice if we're going to have more than a couple together.
Okay, thank you. Alder Stevens.
Rick, how would the public be made aware that we were closed for the afternoon?
Generally, what we would do is we would do a social media post. We would also post it on the doors in advance. So when you do come to the city hall and you were going to be planning on making a return trip, you will see that note that is on the door. Those are typically the ways we've done it in the past.
Okay, Alder Knott.
I'll wait until there's a motion.
We should put a motion on the floor.
All right, I'll move to approve the closure of City Hall from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. on Tuesday, January 16th for training.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Stephen Knott. It's been seconded by Leanne Stokes to approve this item under discussion. Stephen Knott.
Yeah, I actually think that's a good idea to conduct training periodically anyway. In this case, it's safety, but also anything that has to do with effectiveness or efficiency. I think even quarterly is reasonable, and it would improve the effectiveness of the city staff by doing up periodic training anyway. I would ask that we start posting that by this Friday. I've been looking at my calendar, and the reason I say that, normally I'd only, 2 to 3 weeks, I would think be plenty, but we got Christmas, we got New Year's. There's just so much, I guess, going on in people's lives right now that, I think we should give them more time to notify this.
Certainly, we will make sure that that gets posted if approved. Yep.
Okay, Alder Wolf.
Thank you, Your Honor. Rick, is there a reason why, as part of the item for approval that Works and Omni Center was not also included for council approval?
Generally speaking, for example, the Public Works building, and Jared can correct me if I'm wrong, there's a very small section that's actually open to the public. It's just the reception area. And again, with the Omni Center, I don't know what it is actually open to the public at 9 o'clock in the morning. And Dan, maybe you can.
Okay.
If we need to add that, we can certainly add that, but I don't know what it's actually open in the first place. So
I was just curious. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Alder Stevens.
Really just a comment. Maybe this is a question for Joanne. Isn't January a very heavy people coming and paying their property tax time? I could see people getting annoyed if they were told to come back. And I'm totally support of the training, but maybe the timing is not optimal.
Okay, Sabrina Steger.
Thank you. So this was discussed pretty heavily at our department head meeting. Due to the fact that it is kind of towards the middle of the month, I think it will be less of a burden since taxes are due at the end of January. Due to the fact that we do have both of the drop boxes, I think that will be helpful. But people may be a little frustrated that we're closed for those 3 hours, but we'll try to let people know as soon as possible.
We're heavier in the morning, aren't we, with foot traffic?
Typically, yes, typically in the morning and then over the lunch hour. And if we don't close till 1, that may be helpful. And then usually when school gets out seems to be another busy time. So those people may be a little frustrated that would come in, but.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Alder Wolf?
Thank you again, Your Honor. So Sabrina, so aren't water bills due right around that same week, like that Thursday or something?
Yes, water bills would be due the 20th.
Yeah.
So there would be you'd have a few days
Okay.
before that. But again, our drop boxes are used pretty regularly and that is an option.
And I know too, a lot of people have also moved. I'm one of those who have moved online also, which has helped tremendously through the 3 years. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, the motion on the floor is to approve the city hall closure for training on January 16th. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item number 12 is closed session. This is to consider a motion to convene in closed session under section 19.85, paragraph 1, paragraph E of the Wisconsin statutes for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, specifically the town of Campbell Water Service. And also to consider a motion to convene in closed session under section 19.85, paragraph 1, paragraph C of the Wisconsin statutes for the purpose of considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. Specifically, the annual review of the city administrator. If any action is required in open session as a result of the closed session, the council will reconvene in open session to take the necessary action and or continue on with the printed agenda. Do we have a motion?
Motion to go.
Go into closed session.
Second.
Motion has been made by Dan Stevens, seconded by Diane Wolf to go into closed session. Please answer when your name is called.
Diane Wolf,
Aye.
Dan Stevens,
Aye.
Stephen Knott,
Aye.
Sean McAllister,
Aye.
Larry Jurassic,
I.
Leanne Stokes.
Aye.
Thank you. We are in closed session. The time is 7:58. We'll just take a moment to refresh ourselves. Thank you, everyone, for coming in tonight.